My ex wants me back. Give me one reason to stay with you instead, she said during dinner. I asked, can you give me one to stay with you? Paid my half of the bill and left. A few days later, she appeared at my doorstep crying. Hey viewers, before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want more stories like this. Thanks. I should have recognized the warning sign the moment the word boring started creeping into her vocabulary. At first, it wasn't an insult. It was just a description. She used it for the things I considered responsible. My 401k strategy was boring. My preference for cooking a high-quality meal at home instead of standing in line at a loud, overpriced club was boring. My decision to pay off my car early was boring. Vanessa and I had been together for 3 years. For the first 2, my stability was exactly what she said she wanted. She had come out of a string of chaotic, toxic relationships with men who treated her like an option. I treated her like a priority. I helped her refinance her student loans. I picked her up from the airport at 2 a.m. without a single complaint. I sat and listened while she vented for hours about her toxic coworkers. But somewhere around the 3-year mark, the peace I provided stopped feeling like a sanctuary to her and started feeling like a cage. The ghost in our relationship had a name: Dylan. Dylan was her college ex. From everything I'd heard over the years, he was a disaster. He was spontaneous, which really meant unreliable. He was passionate, which really meant emotionally volatile. He had cheated on her twice, borrowed money he never repaid, and eventually broke up with her through a text so he could go backpacking through Europe. For years, she talked about him with nothing but disdain. But in the last 2 months, the tone had changed. Dylan's back in the city, she mentioned casually one night while scrolling through Instagram. He started his own branding agency. Looks like he's finally growing up. I didn't think much of it at the time. The comparison started about a week later. Dylan just bought a loft downtown, she said while we were watching a movie. It's so industrial, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows. It's got so much character. Unlike this place. I glanced around my apartment. It was a spotless modern 2-bedroom in a good neighborhood. What's wrong with this place? I asked. She let out that heavy, theatrical sigh she'd recently perfected. Nothing. It's just safe. You know, it's exactly what everyone expects. It's beige, safe, beige, predictable. Those became the words of the month. The red flag started waving violently last Tuesday. We were on the couch when her phone buzzed. She grabbed it off the cushion with the reflexes of a fighter pilot. She angled the screen away from me, typed a quick reply, and then flipped it face down on her thigh. Who was that? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Just work, she said, without looking at me. Sarah's having a crisis with the vendor. Sarah, her assistant, had quit 3 weeks ago. I didn't call her out. I didn't raise my voice. But something cold and heavy settled in my stomach. It hit me that I was no longer her partner. I was a placeholder, an insurance policy she was keeping while she shopped for a better rate. I decided to test things one last time. I made reservations at Lavelle, the French bistro she'd been dying to try for months. It was expensive, the kind of place you book for an engagement or a major promotion. I wanted to see if effort still meant anything to her, or if she was already too far gone. Friday night came. I wore the suit she used to say made me look like James Bond. She wore a stunning black dress, but her energy was restless. In the Uber, she checked her phone 4 times. She didn't ask about my day. She didn't comment on the restaurant. We were seated. The ambiance was romantic. Low lighting, candles, soft jazz. Perfect for a couple in love. Perfect for a breakup, too. She ordered the most expensive wine on the menu without consulting me. She downed the first glass quickly, her eyes scanning the room as if she were searching for an exit or an audience. By the time the appetizers arrived, the silence between us felt almost tangible. I broke it. You seem distracted, Ness, I said, cutting into my tartare. Everything okay? For a moment, I thought she was about to apologize. I thought she might say she'd been stressed or anxious. Instead, she looked straight at me, her expression eerily calm. I need to be honest with you, she said. I've been talking to Dylan. I stopped eating. I carefully placed my knife and fork on the edge of my plate. I didn't speak. I just waited. My lack of reaction seemed to throw her off. She had expected a fight. She had expected me to raise my voice so she could call me controlling. When I didn't, she had no choice but to keep talking to fill the silence. He reached out a few weeks ago, she continued, her voice taking on a strange, confident edge. He apologized for everything. He's changed, Mark. He's doing really well. He has this energy now. It's magnetic. He wants us to try again. He says he never stopped thinking about me. She paused and took a sip of wine, watching me carefully, searching for jealousy. Okay, I said, my voice flat. Why are you telling me this here? She leaned forward, elbows on the table. This was the moment. The pitch. Because I'm confused, she said, though she didn't look confused. She looked empowered. I care about you, Mark. I really do. You're great. You're reliable. You're safe. But Dylan, he's a risk. He's excitement. He makes me feel alive in a way you just don't. She leaned back and crossed her arms, creating a physical barrier between us. So here's the situation, she said casually, like she was choosing between salmon and steak. He wants me back. I have to make a choice. But I feel like I owe you a chance to advocate for yourself. So give me a reason. I blinked. Excuse me. Give me a reason to stay with you instead of him. She repeated slowly, enunciating each word as if I were a child. Tell me why I should pick you. Sell me on us. Because right now, safe isn't winning. The audacity took my breath away. For a split second, she was auctioning off her affection in the middle of a crowded restaurant. She truly believed she was such a high-value prize that I would start listing my qualifications, begging her to recognize my worth, competing with a ghost from her past who had treated her like garbage. She expected me to plead. She expected me to say, but I love you. I pay for everything. I'm loyal. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, just a quiet final click, like a door locking. I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the entitlement in her eyes, the absence of empathy. I saw a woman who treated relationships like transactions and people like stepping stones. I reached for my napkin and wiped my mouth. You want a reason? I asked softly. She smirked, convinced she had already won. Yes. Give me one reason. I signaled the waiter. He came over immediately. Check, please, I said. Vanessa frowned. Mark, we haven't even ordered mains yet. Don't be dramatic. The waiter placed the black folder on the table. I opened it. The total was $140. The wine she ordered accounted for $80 of it. I pulled out my wallet and took out three $20 bills and a $10. $70. Exactly. Half. I set the cash down on top of the receipt and stood up. Mark. Her voice rose, a mix of confusion and irritation. What are you doing? I looked down at her. Suddenly, she seemed small. You asked me to give you a reason to stay with me, I said, my voice calm but loud enough for nearby tables to hear. And I realized something. What? She snapped. Can you give me one reason to stay with you? Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She was stunned. The question had never even crossed her mind. I offer loyalty, stability, and respect, I said, buttoning my suit jacket. You offer confusion, comparison, and an ex-boyfriend you're texting under the table. I'm not competing for a job I already have, Vanessa. And I'm definitely not competing for a position that's already filled. You can't just leave, she hissed, her face flushing as she noticed people staring. You can't leave me here with the bill. I paid my half, I said. You wanted independence and excitement. Paying for your own $80 bottle of wine sounds pretty exciting. Call Dylan. Maybe he'll cover the rest. I turned and walked toward the exit. Mark, she shrieked. If you walk out that door, we are done. Do you hear me? Done. I didn't look back. I pushed through the heavy glass doors and stepped into the cool night air. I checked my pulse, slow, steady. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened her contact, and hesitated. Locking her immediately would have been too easy. It would have made me look hurt. I didn't want to look hurt. I wanted to look indifferent. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and hailed a cab. I was done, but I had a feeling she was just getting started. The silence lasted exactly 20 minutes. That's how long it took her to realize I wasn't waiting outside the restaurant and that I wasn't coming back to cover the rest of the bill. I was back at my apartment, calmly folding her clothes into a cardboard box I'd taken from the recycling bin, when my phone began vibrating across the coffee table. It wasn't a call. It was a flood of texts. Vanessa, 8:43 p.m. Are you serious right now? Vanessa, 8:44 p.m. You are actually psychotic. Everyone is staring at me. Vanessa, 8:46 p.m. Come back here and pay for this. My card got declined. You know I don't get paid until Friday. This is financial abuse. Financial abuse. That was rich, coming from someone who had just tried to leverage her ex-boyfriend to negotiate a better relationship contract. I didn't respond. I didn't block her either. In situations like this, documentation matters. I took a screenshot of the messages, especially the one where she admitted her card was declined. It proved she had ordered an $80 bottle of wine with no intention or ability to pay for it herself. I finished packing her things. It didn't take long. Over 3 years, she had slowly moved into my life. But looking at the box, she hadn't actually added much value to it. Just clutter, high-end skincare products I paid for, clothes she bought to impress other people, a few framed photos of us where she looked great, and I was out of focus. I set the box outside my front door, took a picture and sent it to her. Me, 9:15 p.m. image attachment. Your things are outside. Do not ring the bell. Her reply was instant and venomous. Vanessa, 9:16 p.m. I hate you. You're insecure, jealous, and boring. Dylan is picking me up. He treats me like a queen. Enjoy your sad, lonely life. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, poured myself a whiskey, and slept better than I had in months. The smear campaign began the next morning. This is the part narcissists love most in a break-you. If they can't control you, they try to control how others see you. I woke up to 3 missed calls and a long text from Emily, Vanessa's best friend. Emily and I had always gotten along. I'd helped her move apartments twice. But clearly, the narrative had already been rewritten. Emily, 10 a.m. I can't believe you. Vanessa just called me crying. She said you screamed at her in the middle of a restaurant, threw money in her face, and abandoned her there because she mentioned an old friend. I thought you were a nice guy, Mark. Clearly I was wrong. You need to apologize to her. Now. I sighed. Vanessa had conveniently left out the ultimatum. Of course she had. In her version, she was the victim of a jealous tyrant, not a woman who tried to start a bidding war for her affection. I could have ignored it. But the professional in me knew that allowing a lie to spread unchecked damages your reputation. I didn't get emotional. I didn't defend my character. I simply presented the facts. Me 10:05 a.m. Hi, Emily. That's an interesting version of events. Here's what actually happened. She told me she wanted to get back with her ex, Dylan. She asked me to give her a reason to choose me over him. I declined to compete. I paid exactly 50% of the bill and left. She's free to be with him now. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. Emily was typing, deleting, retyping. The cognitive dissonance was hitting hard. Me, 10:07 a.m. also, she texted me last night saying Dylan was picking her up and treating her like a queen, so she shouldn't be crying. She got exactly what she wanted. Emily never responded. Later, I found out she had screenshotted my message and sent it to their group chat, asking Vanessa if it was true. Vanessa reportedly had a meltdown, claiming I was twisting her words. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Her friends knew I wasn't a liar. For the next 3 days, I became a ghost. I went to work. I hit the gym. I ate clean. Vanessa, on the other hand, launched a full PR blitz. Since I hadn't blocked her on Instagram yet, for safety reasons, I kept an eye on the timeline. I saw the performance she was putting on. It was pathetic. Post one Sunday morning. A photo of 2 coffees and a bagel, tagged at a trendy cafe. The caption, finally with someone who matches my energy. #upgrade #new chapter. A male hand with a distinctive tattoo was visible holding the other cup. Dylan. A blurry video from inside a club. She was dancing holding a bottle of vodka, with a sparkler in it. Caption, living my best life. No more holding back. She was trying to provoke a reaction. She wanted me to view her stories so she could see my name on the list. She wanted confirmation that I was watching. I didn't give her that satisfaction. I used an anonymous story viewer to check her page. To her, I had disappeared completely. But if you looked closely, the cracks were obvious. In the coffee photo, she wasn't smiling. She was pouting at the camera. The club video was from a Monday night. Who goes clubbing on a Monday unless they're desperately trying to prove they're having fun? And then there was Dylan. I knew his reputation. He was a love bomber. He'd flood a woman with attention for a week, get what he wanted, money, sex, a place to crash, and then lose interest. Vanessa had just handed him a win. She left her stable, boring boyfriend for him. His ego was satisfied, but ego is fast-burning fuel. On Wednesday, 5 days after the dinner, the silence broke. But it wasn't Vanessa. It was a DM from a guy I vaguely knew, a friend of Dylan's named Mike. We'd met at a few parties years ago. Mike, yo man, weird question. Are you and Vanessa done? Me. Yeah. Why? Mike, okay. Cool. Just checking. She's been crass. Hang at Dylan's place since Friday, and it's getting intense. I think she thinks they're dating. Dylan told us she's just a placeholder until his actual girl gets back from her internship in London next week. Just thought you should know before it gets messy. I stared at my phone. The irony was razor sharp. She had called me a placeholder. She had called me safe. All along, she had just been a warm body for Dylan to use while he waited for his real relationship to resume. She had burned her house down chasing a mirage. I thanked Mike and set my phone down. I didn't warn her. Why would I? She wanted excitement. She wanted risk. She was about to get a lifetime supply of both. The crash came 48 hours later. I was sitting on my balcony reading a book when my phone lit up. Vanessa, 11:42 p.m. mark. Vanessa, 11:45 p.m. Are you awake? Vanessa, 11:50 p.m. Please answer. It's an emergency. Vanessa, 12:05 a.m. He kicked me out. He's a monster. I have nowhere to go. My parents are out of town. Please, I just need a place to sleep. I took a sip of water. The professional in me evaluated the request. A tenant who had violated the lease, caused damage, and voluntarily vacated the property was now requesting reentry. Application denied. I turned off my phone and went to bed. The knocking started at 7 a.m. on Saturday. It wasn't a polite knock. It was frantic, desperate pounding that rattled the door frame. I was already awake, brewing coffee, enjoying the quiet of an apartment that no longer smelled like her overly sweet perfume. I checked the peephole. She looked nothing like the confident woman in the black dress from the previous Friday. She was wearing gray sweatpants that were too short, a stained hoodie I recognized as Dylan's, and she was soaked. It wasn't raining, which meant she had either been crying or sweating heavily. Her hair was tangled. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in black rivers. She looked like a mess. She looked like consequences. I unlocked the door but didn't open it fully. I stood in the doorway, blocking the entrance with my body. A mug of coffee in my hand served as a physical barrier between her chaos and my peace. Mark, she choked out, her voice raw. Oh my God. Thank you. I didn't think you'd open. She moved to step inside, assuming the old dynamic was still intact. She assumed I was still the safety net, the fixer. I didn't move. She bumped into my shoulder and stopped, confused. Mark, she whispered. Let me in. Please, I'm freezing. You can't come in, Vanessa, I said. My tone was calm, conversational, not angry, just factual. She blinked and wiped her nose on the sleeve of the dirty hoodie. What? Mark, stop. I'm serious. Dylan, he's crazy. He threw my bag onto the street. He laughed at me. He told me I was... Yush! She broke into a jagged, ugly sob. He told me I was just a warm-up for his girlfriend. Can you believe that? She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes, expecting me to share her outrage. She wanted me to be angry for her. She wanted me to say that bastard. Come in. I'll take care of you, I said. Dylan has always been exactly who he is. You just didn't want to see it because you were too busy comparing me to him. I know, she wailed. I was stupid. I was confused. He manipulated me, Mark. He got in my head. He made me think we had this connection, but it was all a lie. You were right. You were right about everything. She reached for my hand. I calmly pulled it away. I'm sorry. She rushed on, words spilling over each other. I'm so sorry about the dinner. I was drunk. I was stressed. I didn't mean any of it. I love you. You're the only one who's ever treated me like a human being. Please, just let me come in, take a shower, and we can talk. We can fix this. I promise I'll never speak to him again. I'll block him right now. Look. She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking. Vanessa, I interrupted. Stop. She froze. You're not listening, I said. There's nothing to fix. You didn't break a vase. You didn't forget an anniversary. You fired me. I didn't fire you, she protested. You auditioned me, I corrected. You sat there, ate the food I was paying for, and told me I had to compete for your loyalty. You told me I was boring and safe and that you wanted excitement. Well, look at you. I gestured toward her disheveled state. You got excitement. You got drama. You got the roller coaster you wanted. You're standing on a doorstep at 7 a.m. crying because a toxic guy treated you like trash. That's the most exciting thing that's happened to you in years. Congratulations. Her face collapsed. The sorrow vanished, replaced by a flash of familiar narcissistic rage. You're being cruel, she spat. This isn't you. You're supposed to be the nice guy. You're supposed to support me. I was the nice guy, I said evenly. And you told me that wasn't enough. You said nice was boring. So I'm trying something different. Mark, I have nowhere to go, she screamed. My parents are in Florida. She screamed. My parents are in Florida. My friends are sick of hearing about this. I have no money. Do you want me to sleep on the street? That sounds like a logistical problem, I replied. And since I'm no longer your partner, it's not my problem to solve. After 3 years, she whispered, playing her final card, the guilt card. 3 years meant nothing to you. They meant everything to me, I said. And for the first time, I let a sliver of the pain show, just enough for her to know it was real. I was building a life for us. I was saving for a ring. I was planning a future. But you weren't building with me, Vanessa. You were just waiting in the lobby until something better came along. You didn't leave because of 3 years. You left because you thought you found an upgrade. You came back because the upgrade failed. I took a sip of my coffee. I'm not a backup plan. I'm not the safety school you settle for when you don't get into Harvard. I'm a prize. And you lost me. She stared at me, and finally she saw it. There was no anger in my eyes anymore. No jealousy, just indifference. I looked at her the way you look at a stranger who knocked on the wrong door. Here, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a $20 bill. This is for a cab to Emily's place. I'm sure she'll take you in, if you tell her the truth this time. I held it out. She looked at the money with disgust, then snatched it from my hand. I hate you, she hissed. You think you're so perfect? You're going to die alone. Maybe, I replied, but I'll die in a peaceful house that I paid for, without anyone checking their phone under the dinner table. I stepped back. Goodbye, Vanessa. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. Click. I rested my forehead against the cool wood for a moment and listened. I heard her sob once loud and broken. Then the elevator dinged. Then silence. Epilogue. The upgrade. 6 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown, working on my laptop. Life had been quiet, peaceful. My savings account was growing. My skin had cleared up. I had started dating a woman named Claire, an architect who found my boring financial planning incredibly attractive and who never ever compared me to an ex. I saw Vane. Sal walk past the window. She looked better than she had on my doorstep. Clean clothes, hair done, but she looked tired. She was walking beside a guy who was shouting into his phone, completely ignoring her. She trailed slightly behind him, carrying 2 heavy shopping bags, staring at the back of his head with a mix of annoyance and resignation. It wasn't Dylan. It was just another version of him. Another exciting project she was trying to fix. Another chaotic man she had chosen over peace. She turned her head and spotted me through the glass. Our eyes locked. I simply looked at her, then lowered my gaze back to my laptop and kept typing. In that moment, I realized the title of my story had changed. It wasn't about her betrayal anymore. It wasn't about the dinner. It was about the reason I gave myself to leave. She wanted a reason to stay. I never gave her one, but she gave me the greatest gift possible. She showed me exactly who she was before I signed a contract for life. I took a sip of my coffee, black, simple, exactly how I liked it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.